Hi again, it's Jennifer. I just wanted to show you how to add value into your drawings. So you've been looking at how to add the shapes, how to clean up all the sight lines, and how to clean up the shapes within your still life drawings. Now in this video, I want to show you how we add value. The way to make your shapes look realistic is to actually get rid of the lines around them. So what we want to do is we want to get rid of the lines around the shapes by adding value instead of line. Line tends to make our stuff look more like illustrations, where if we can get rid of all those lines, we can make it look like a real shape. So today what you're going to need is your kneaded eraser. You're going to need your white pastel and your black Nupastel. I really prefer Nupastel for this. They're super soft. They're going to work really good. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our Nupastel, and I like to break just the top part that's sticking out. I usually break them into threes, but I keep them in the sleeve until I'm ready to use the next piece because it gets messy. So I've got a little piece of white. I've got a little piece of the black. I've got my kneaded eraser, and I've got my extra stick of charcoal. So in the pack that you got, most likely came with 2 sticks. I use one for sighting, and then I use the other one for creating value. So I'll snap it in half, and we'll use it like this. The first thing we want to do is we want to tone the shapes. So I want to start with the cone, and the first thing I want to do is I want to tone the cone. I recommend using a chamois or paper towel for this, but you can use your fingers too. So just in case you don't have that, I want to show you can do it with your fingers too. So what I'm doing is I'm buffing this in. Okay, I'm smoothing out the charcoal. And I want to think about now where my light was coming from. And just for this demonstration, I'm going to have my light coming from this direction. So once I have this first layer of charcoal buffed in, so it's even, I'm going to take my white Nupastel and I'm going to come in over on this side. And if I had a light source set up for real, I want to really look to see where the light would be on the shape. Okay, take my finger or a rag, and I'm going to buff this in. You just don't want it so it's a lot of marks showing, or it'll make the form look less real. Okay, so now that I have that side in, what I want to do is take my black Nupastel. Now be really careful with the black Nupastel. It is super dark and you do not need very much of it. So don't go too heavy with the black Nupastel. Go really, really lightly on this other edge. And I use them flat. And then anywhere that I think I need value, I can add it. Okay, same thing here. You can see how dark this is going to get. It's really dark. And then again, I want to blend this in. I'm using my fingers, but you might want to use paper towels, a chamois, anything like that. Okay, so that would be the cone. Let's look at the ball, how we would do the ball. Same thing, I'm going to start with my charcoal, and I'm going to buff it in. Use the side of my charcoal, so I hold it like this, and I rub it on. And then I'm going to rub this in. And again, I'm trying to get rid of the edges on the outside. I want it to all read as value and not a line drawing. Okay, now I'm going to take my white Nupastel and I'm going to come into this. Now I do want to make it look like I'm staying with the shape that I'm drawing. So when I put the white in, I'll probably put it in a little curvy so it reflects the shape that I'm actually working with. Same thing here. Take my hands and blend this in, and if there's any dark on the edge, I want to try to get rid of that. Again, I'm working at an angle, so it's kind of hard to see exactly what I'm doing, but I'm trying to show you the best I can at an angle. Okay, and it's okay if your shapes get really large. We're going to clean all that up too at the end. All right, now what I want to do is take the black pastel, come on this side, put the dark in where I see the dark or where I think based on my light source it would be. I want to blend all that in. Okay, so on this one I think I'm going to put a little bit more white on the corner. I'm losing that edge just a little bit. Now the box, it's a little different. Each side or face of the box is actually a different value. So in this case, the top of the box would have the lightest value because of where the light's coming from, but the cone is blocking it, so it might only have half of that value. But for this demo, I'm going to make it easy and just show you what it would look like if it was all the way one value. All right, then this side would be just slightly darker, so that would be the charcoal. Again, I'm trying to get rid of that edge. Okay, now this side would be the dark. So I would use the black Nupastel. I want to get this as even as I can. And I can see I kind of wiggled on top of my white right there, so I'll come back and clean that line up. Okay, so you can see how I make the box using 3 different shapes, and this might be a little bright. We can take this down a little bit. All right, so let me show you how we would clean this up in the foreground and the background. In the foreground, the table that you're on, think about the value of it. In this case, my table that I was on was pretty light. So I'm going to take my white Nupastel, and I'm going to come in here and start edging my shapes. There was a negative space right there. It goes around this way. Now, if you're standing in front of it, it'll be a little easier to draw. So I'm going to do my best at an angle to show you how to do this. And if my circle gets a little wonky, I apologize. Okay, same thing here. I'm going around here. I'm cleaning up my edges. Finding the right edge of the box again. There we go. Okay. Same thing up here around the cone. And you will go through the white much quicker than you go through the black pastel. The black pastel, you don't need much, but the white pastel is super soft too. All right. So I was just able to outline the shapes using the white. And if I want to, my hands are really dirty, but if I wanted to, I could come in here too, and I could soften all of this out so that I don't have as much texture. Okay. And I would want to go a little further and soften some of those little edges out too. But let's look at the background. So with the background, I want to use the really dark black Nupastel, and I'm going to edge this shape. Ooh. want to be careful around this ball. Take the white and clean that back up. And I'm going to fill the whole background in with the dark so I can make my shapes pop. Now I'm going to go really fast on this, but I want you to take your time and get it nice. Dropping those. Okay, now what I'm going to do is take my fingers or a rag and blend this in, and then all of a sudden you'll be able to see that cone. Go to the top of the cone and blend down to the edge of the table. Same thing right over here, edge of the cone. Sorry if my cone got a little wonky. Okay, so I would like you to finish it all the way up. Make sure it's dark all the way through the background so that all of your shapes really pop out and look beautiful. But for this demo, I think we're probably good enough for you to get the idea. So when you're ready, what you want to do is make sure you have all of your shapes in the right place. Make sure all of your lines look really good and clean. Make sure your shapes are right. And then you're slowly going to add the value in. So recap, one of the best ways to do it is to base coat it in the regular charcoal. Then take your white Nupastel and add the highlight. Then take your black Nupastel and add the darks. And then the very last thing you can do is you can add your shadows. Okay, light source, you want to think about your light source, where your light source was coming from, where it might creep through the drawing, and if you have it set up, definitely use that. The cone might cast one all the way out here, might overlap this one. Okay, so that would be the very last thing to think about is, do you have shadows, and if you do, where are they? Thanks.